Hey there, good morning. I'm Bryn.
And I'm Collin. Welcome to The Big Picture here on 10 TV. It is an hour of where we're going to take some of the big stories that are happening in Central Ohio and really around the world, and we break them down, spend the time to answer the question of why things are happening, and kind of give you some more insight and provide you some of the context and information that you might be asking for on some of, why are these stories happening?
Absolutely. Well, happy Wednesday, first and foremost.
We've made it halfway through the week.
We've made it to hump day. I love it. I love it.
It's so cold outside. But
so cold, but we have a warm-up coming up.
Yes, Meredith will talk about that in a bit.
Well, let's get to our headlines today. We are expected the dignified transfer of those 3 Ohio airmen that were killed in a refueling crash in Iraq. That is happening today in Delaware. We're going to be walking you through kind of that process and what that's going to be like later today.
Yeah, and then coming up at 9:30, Kevin Landers is going to sit down with us and talk about Governor DeWine's new plan to pardon some felons if they can stay crime-free for 10 years, basically getting rid of that record so that they can seek employment easier, etc. Kevin will sit down and go into more detail about that.
Yeah, he speaks to 4 different people about their life journeys, and it's a really incredible story, so I'm excited for that. But first, let's talk about what happened last night at the Columbus City School Board of Education meeting. They are sticking with Dr. Angela Chapman as the superintendent. And I found this a little surprising after the reviews she received.
Yeah, so this extends her contract out through 2029. Dr. Chapman's been superintendent at Columbus City Schools since the beginning of the 2023-24 school year. And so when we talk about that review that we talked about late last year, that was the review for her first year as superintendent for the 23-24 school year. We won't get the one for the 24-25 school year really until probably this fall.
They're facing a lot of struggles right now, the district. Budget shortfalls, millions of dollars. They're having to close buildings down.
Yeah.
The whole transportation situation with getting kids to school. So they're dealing with a lot.
Right. And one of the factors of this new contract agreement for Dr. Chapman is that she is staying on at the same salary that she came in at in 2023 at $265,000. And the board, kind of brought that up in their decision last night, that her willingness to keep the same salary, not take a pay raise or anything, is an indication that she believes that everybody is in this together. She is overseeing the largest school district in the state of Ohio that has had some significant money troubles in recent years.
She's dedicated.
It's a district with, I believe it's like a $2 billion annual budget. It's a huge budget, but we talk about the size of it. The student body of Columbus City Schools is the size of a small city. And it takes a lot of money to do that. 80% of that money goes to payroll.
Right. They have a lot of people they have to employ.
They do. So last night, the Columbus City Schools Board of Education talked about this. The new board president, Dr. Antoinette Miranda, had this to say about the decision to keep Dr. Chapman on.
Strong leadership matters, especially in times of both challenge and opportunity. And this renewal affirms our confidence in the direction of the work underway.
Now, Antoinette Miranda replaces Michael Cole as the president of the CCS board. That change happened at the end of the year. So, she's kind of in the same boat of coming in to a district that is working through a lot of these problems.
I think there's an energy as well. I think everyone is kind of working together. There's a lot of vigor behind all this to figure out the budget shortfalls, which is a large number, $50 million.
It's a huge amount of money.
Yes.
But, Dr. Chapman, I assume that she thought that her contract would get renewed. But in the event that it wouldn't, she had this to say, that, she's very happy that, they elected to keep her on now through 3 more years, 2029.
I'm deeply honored and grateful for the Board of Education for the trust and confidence that you've placed in me to continue to serve and lead in CCS.
So let's go back to some of the cuts that she has had to oversee. The December
That's because
cuts,
of the budget shortfalls.
Right.
This is all a trickle-down effect.
Yeah.
We've really been able to see it play out in real time with this school district.
Right. And, some of that goes back to the state and how the state is now intending to fund schools. In this past year, the legislature kind of voted to go away from the Fair School Funding Plan that was put in really in 2021, but that Fair School Funding Plan actually dates all the way back to the 1990s when there was a lawsuit out of Perry County. One of the schools there, a student's family sued, that is, out of Perry County, saying basically the poorer rural schools are not funded in the same way that a more affluent district such as a Bexley or an Upper Arlington would be funded. And this Fair Schools Funding Plan was really a way to try and address those concerns as basically ruled on by the court. So it increased funding for districts that had a higher poverty rate, a higher English as a second language student body, and also special needs students. So when that changed, a lot of districts saw some pretty big cuts. And it wasn't just districts the size of Columbus City Schools. I remember talking to the superintendent of the Cherokee Community School District, which is all the way down there by Huntington, West Virginia on the Ohio side. He was trying to figure out how to deal with these cuts. But going back to the big December cuts, when they figured out how to cut, or no, this was February, that the board had to vote on $7 million in cuts. That cut 34 vacant admin positions. So these were unfilled, but they still did cut people who were actively employed. 19 admin positions. There were also that were just general admin positions, and 6 more that were family engagement coordinators, and 3 like health supervisor admin positions. And, you know, Dr. Chapman talking about this, we've talked to her repeatedly over these changes over and over again about how are we picking to make these to make these layoffs as least impactful as possible among families. And this is what she had to say about how we're picking and how we're trying to be mindful about how we do these cuts in terms of personnel.
The majority of those admin positions were the furthest away from the classroom, meaning they were supervisors supervising other adults in central office.
So most of those, and as we've read, they are admin positions.
She said they're difficult. That's difficult too. This is not easy.
No
this has
one
been a really hard process.
Right. And, you know, they've already closed a number of schools, 8 or 9, and those are all slated for demolition to basically keep the budget afloat. And, you know, those kids are now being shuffled into new schools and whatnot like that as they try to figure out how to do that.
I know. And I've talked to parents in the district. They're upset about all of that, the busing changes, and
because that was another big change.
To school. Exactly. But all of this is an effort to tackle that $50 million budget shortfall, which is, again, a lot of money. Yeah. And it's not going to happen overnight. So this is kind of the processes that's still happening. And I think Dr. Angela Chapman, now staying as superintendent, she should be a good person to continue leading the district through this, because she's, you know, been with them kind of from the beginning of all of this.
And as we talk about that, you know, the review that she got, or that
was from her first year.
Was from that first year, and there were some things that, you know, the board brought up that she didn't work, you know, really hand in hand with the board, and you know, didn't always feel like she was in close communication. They did mention that last night, that, you know, that has significantly improved really in that second year.
Yeah,
so you know,
a lot
we'll
of
see.
changes
It's a new
still,
board.
New
well, not
board.
an entirely new board. There are still
New
a few
board
returners,
president.
but there are several new people on the board who are also having to learn the ropes of how to right the ship of an absolutely enormous school district.
Yeah.
So
we'll keep following that. Obviously, you know, spring and summer's around the corner for those kiddos, so they'll probably work through a lot this summer as well as we start the fall then soon. So. Awesome.
The other big story that, you know, continues to be heartbreaking here in Central Ohio, the loss of 3 servicemen overseas in that plane crash in Iraq.
It's a solemn day. Those parents that are having to bury their children. It's something no parent should ever have to do.
As we've talked about it, that it's nothing that, you know, no parent should have to bury their child. And you know, their sons went into this knowing the risk.
Yep, and they did it for the love of their country.
And they did.
Their parents have said that to us.
Right. And they were proud to take on that risk.
Yeah. So Governor DeWine, he's actually traveling to Delaware today, to Dover, the Air Force Base there, where this dignified transfer is going to take place later today. But he said in a tweet that, this is quote, I'm going to read it for you guys. I've received notice that the dignified transfer of Ohio's 3 airmen killed overseas last week will take place tomorrow. Bryn and I will join senior staff from the Ohio National Guard to travel to Dover Air Force Base to pay our respects to Captain Seth Koval, Captain Curtis Angst, and Master Sergeant Tyler Simmons. He was promoted to Ohio's Adjutant General from the rank of Technical Sergeant. So We've spoken to Tyler Simmons' family a lot. They've been very vocal, which is so kind of them. I mean,
this is an incredibly hard thing to go through.
They do not have to go on camera and talk about it, but I think they're doing it because they loved their son. The community loved their son. He had a lot of friends. And his mom said she's never going to forget that door knock that she got on her door.
This is heartbreaking. We heard it this morning. And
listen to,
she talks about how it was to get that door knock, get that answer. And, it was her husband that answered the door and knew that something
was deeply wrong. Listen to this.
And when he opened the door, he said, "Oh no." And I jumped up and ran in there, and they were lined up out on the porch. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah, just raw emotion right there. I mean, they're still processing. They're still in the middle of grieving all of this. And kind of the first step, I think, to closure down the road is bringing them back home and having that ceremony and going through that process, which also I want to add, the families may not want the media there.
Yeah.
In that instance, we will not be there. And then the government, who's also there, will not be filming any of this. It will be a totally closed off private ceremony for these families as they start their grieving process. But I also want to add that Tyler Simmons, it was his dream to become a master sergeant. So that being given to him,
posthumously, that dream will come true. Especially, it gives his family some, something else to remember him by, that he was loved. We heard Stacia talk about that yesterday, that when she sat down with the general or the major general over that this is his family too. I mean, these men and women of that 121st, they're loved. You spend so much time with them that, that you spend more time with them than you do your own family.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that these National Guardsmen, they are as critical in the fight as all of the other military members. They're vital to refueling those planes so then they can go on their mission. So, the mission doesn't stop here, but those families want to have their loved ones back home so they can be at peace and then, try to gain some closure
and so
through
that,
this.
Dignified transfer of the remains, that's happening at the Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, the state of Delaware.
Yeah.
What's still not known is exactly when they'll return here to Ohio. We expect to hear that in the coming days.
Yeah.
But obviously, as we mentioned, we won't get to see this, at least on camera.
And that's okay.
And that is okay.
Not to get personal, but I had to watch my parents bury my older brother when I was 14 years old. It's something horrible to watch your family go through, and to have cameras in your face and go through that with so publicly, it can be really challenging. So if they welcome the media, I mean, that's incredible. But if they do not, I completely understand.
Yeah, no parent is ever prepared to bury their own child.
No. So we thank them for their service and their family. We're praying and thinking of them. The fighting obviously is continuing in the Middle East, but we're going to keep following this story, and hopefully we can learn a little bit more about the other two airmen that were impacted by this fatal crash.
Yeah, so we've got to take a break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Tyvis Powell is joining us to talk about March Madness.
Yes.
We'll be right back here on The Big Picture.
We got our mics on now. Welcome back to the Big Picture. We have Tyvis with us this morning. We were just talking about what position you used to play with in football.
Yeah, I used to play safety when I was at Ohio State, and then when I got to the NFL, they transitioned me to corner. So my entire career, I went back and forth, corner safety, corner safety.
That's kind of fun, though.
I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend. Now, in the league, you want to be versatile. The more you can do, the more value you have. But you can't master one.
That's
so
like TV
it
news.
was frustrating because it's like as soon as I got good at corner, they like, well, we need you to play safety. So it's like I got to go figure that out. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, and talk about versatility. That is something that's needed during March Madness when we're talking basketball, because we know that at this point in the game, everything matters.
Yes, it does.
Obviously, OSU taking on the Horned Frogs, TCU.
What is it?
Tomorrow?
The bullfrogs?
The Horned Frogs.
Horned frogs.
Yeah.
What is a horned frog?
I don't know.
They're
some
purple,
sort of frog.
though. I know that, right? Their frogs are purple.
Hold on. We got to Google this.
Okay, who do you think is going to... I know. Google it. He's on it. Who do you think is going to come out on top tomorrow with that game?
The Buckeyes should win the game.
Okay.
I think that when you look at their TCU's front court, that will be the challenge. Those big men. David Punch will be the guy that they will have to find a way to stop. Now, he's 6'8". He averages around 20 points a game. Defensively, he gets 2 blocks a game, so he's really a good player. I think that if Ohio State's bigs, Christoph Tilley, Yagovin, those guys are 7-footers. They have to play like 7-footers. If you're going to be that big, I need you to stop people in the paint, and I need you to get rebounds. And to be honest with you, they haven't been the best this season at doing that. But if they were ever going to do it, this would be the time to do it. So those two, Christoph Tilley and Yagovin, those two guys will be the key to winning the game tomorrow.
Is this a young team? Like, are they ready for this?
I think so. I think that obviously you're led by Bruce, who spent all 4 years at Ohio State, which in today's day and age, that's unheard of that you spend 4 years at a place. But I think Bruce, their whole mission this year was get Bruce to the tournament. Yeah. Well, now that you're here, you're only going to get one shot at this for Bruce.
Right.
You think if everybody respects him and love him, you will play hard for that guy. So I think that we'll see some really good performances. John Mobley Jr., I think he's going to have to be consistent when it comes to shooting the three, which if he can shoot those threes at a high clip and he's on fire, it's over with. It's not even going to be close. They'll run TCU out the building. But to me, I think they have the experience. Although they don't have a ton of tournament experience with those guys have played a lot of basketball.
Yeah. And before we move on to the next topic, we do have a picture of what a horned frog is. Thanks, Zenobia. Zenobia working hard over there to get us a picture. And
I like that frog. It's like a cross between a lizard and a frog, right?
Because if you Google it,
looks
comes
pretty
up,
scaly.
If you Google horned frog, it comes up as horned lizard. So maybe the same thing.
We've got him at the Fort Worth Zoo.
Oh, they're at the Fort Worth
and they're
Zoo,
at the Fort.
so.
Okay, well, they're Texas.
Thanks, Zenobia.
Texas, hold on. Okay. Well, let's talk about the Blue Jackets because they had an incredible game last night.
Yes, they did. The Jackets are on fire.
They're on fire. Do you think it's the new coach, maybe?
It has to be. We talked to Matthew Olivier today, and he was saying that they always had confidence in themselves, but, Coach Bones has done a really good job of just communicating to them how good they can be. And I think that we're watching them evolve right before our eyes. I mean, Carolina Hurricanes was leading the Metro.
Right.
They are the #1 team in the Metro, and they went out there and beat them 5-1. This team is clicking on all cylinders, and it's at the right time. Now, they're still on the outside looking in when you talk about playoffs. They're 1 point out of the final wild card spot, and it seems like every time the Jackets win, either the teams in front of them win or they get a point in overtime. So it's like very frustrating.
Yeah.
We asked them about that, like, are you guys like fans when the game's over? Do you run to your phone and look to see if y'all made it? And he's like, absolutely. So they just got to continue to control what they can control, and that's win these games. They're playing the Rangers tomorrow, which I'll be lighting the cannon.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get something pretty exciting.
Special announcement. You're at the game.
My record is 1-0 at Nationwide. We got to win tomorrow. If I'm lighting this cannon, I'm going for 2-0 tomorrow.
Have you done it before?
No.
What does it entail? Have they told you?
No, but I know you just go over there.
You go there and aim it?
You light the thing in there, and you better get out the way because it's kaboom.
It's loud. Like when it goes off, you're like, whoa.
Earplugs or something.
It's like that meteor in Cleveland that happened.
Which we're talking about coming up.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, and Because you go up to Cleveland all the time.
Every Tuesday and Thursday.
And
So
you didn't hear the sonic boom.
I did. They said it hit around 9 o'clock, which means that I was on the road for maybe
were on the
5
highway.
minutes. So I wasn't close enough to it. But everybody says like they heard it or they seen it and all of these things. So it's just crazy how, you think about a meteor ended dinosaurs and then you hear that. It's
Right.
like, wow, this is
And somehow, by the grace of God, it evaporated and it didn't kill us. So we're here for another day. All right.
All
Well,
right.
Tyvis, thanks for stopping by.
I appreciate you.
We made it to Wednesday.
Yeah, we made it to Wednesday. Meredith's
It's a
here to
good
talk
day.
about Severe Weather Preparedness Month. We've got the statewide tornado drill coming up in a bit. So.
Hey
Welcome
there.
back to the
Welcome
big picture.
back.
Yeah.
Woohoo. We're just laughing
It
because
is Wednesday.
it is
Oh my God.
Wednesday.
I thought it was like Thursday or Friday.
I know, it
and
really
was
felt
not.
like, but hey, we are moving through the week.
We are.
And
Wednesday's
good
halfway
news,
through.
Meredith, right?
Yeah.
The weather's going to get
we
better.
can get through the cold right
Yeah.
now, which look, I mean, we're in turtlenecks this
I know,
morning. I mean, you were
freezing.
telling us getting out of the house. It's just a
I
lot
did
of people
not.
I
struggled
was
this morning.
really, and I don't know. I woke up and I was like, maybe it'll be warmer. It was not.
Well, it's amazing that
It
you
will
went
be
to
by
the
later
grocery
today.
store yesterday.
Yeah,
I wasn't even brave enough
I
to
know.
do that.
I got up from my nap, went to the grocery store, and by the time I got out of Kroger, it was like those whiteout snow
Yeah.
conditions that we just kept getting over and over again.
Those
It's
are crazy.
so funny. I was leaving the station here yesterday, and it was like a blanket of white. And then I got to Dublin, and I was like,
Boom.
"Oh, there's the
It's
sun."
done.
Hello.
And so
Voila.
we talk about all of this and how cold it is. I mean,
But the
it's been like
weekend
25 degrees.
is gonna be glorious.
But we're also talking about severe weather.
Right.
We are. So today is the statewide tornado drill, and that's going to be happening at 9:50 a.m. this morning. So
in
if you
about
didn't
20
know
minutes.
about it, it's okay. If you hear the sirens, you'll most likely have some clouds or some sunshine. But what's going to happen is it is going to go off, and there's about 3 minutes. It's just testing the outdoor warning sign. So it's making sure everything works in your community. So if there are issues, they can make sure to get those fixed. But
And schools, businesses,
Yes.
everyone's encouraged
Because
to
we're used to hearing
figure out a
these-
plan.
Yeah, we're used to hearing
Shelter-in-place
these at
plan.
noon on Wednesday, so they're coming a couple hours early.
Yeah.
But this is good. I mean, this is actually statewide to make sure we have a plan in place if we ever had anything widespread. Because as we go into Severe Weather Awareness Week, I mean, being prepared for a tornado, as we know, we have seen a lot more and more systems get very active where we've had tornadoes. And so what's going to be a good reminder for you today, and maybe your kids are at school, is maybe when they get home from school, go over your family's plan. And, I get questions all the time about mobile homes because, as we know, those are not a safe place to
No.
be for a tornado. So if you have a watch out, I think the safest thing would be to go to either a community shelter or a family member. But if you're actually in a tornado, say there's a tornado warning, you're in your mobile home, you don't want to go out and try to find shelter somewhere else. if you don't know where the storm is at. So the most safest thing to do is if you have to be stuck in a mobile home, get into your bathtub, grab your mattress. I know it sounds stressful, but a helmet, a bike helmet for kids.
Okay.
And shoes. I know we don't think about our shoes, but like you
That's
don't
really
want to
important.
have to walk out in a tornado aftermath and step on something.
With glass debris, nails, you never know what those tornadoes can turn up. And if you're living in an apartment, Meredith,
This is a good one too.
where should people go?
I love that you're asking this because I remember when I lived on the 3rd, 4th floor of apartments, and you know, you need to have your safe place in your actual apartment. So that is, again, 4 sturdy inside walls. So a wall that does not go to the outside. A lot of bathrooms are like this, or maybe it's a closet where you have that protection, maybe clothes around you, and maybe have a little kid in there, right? So have those shoes, have a bike helmet for the kids, and even for yourself, because the bike helmet would be if the roof came off and something fell on you, that would protect your head. That's why we always say a mattress, but a bike helmet is a great backup for that. And if you have time, if you have some time, maybe make friends with your neighbors downstairs and say, hey, if there's a tornado warning, do you mind like having somewhere you could go? Or maybe there's a community shelter at your complex, but you know, when it's there, you just got to take cover the best way you can and get as many walls between you and the storm as possible.
That's why it's important to have a plan, because that makes everything go smoother.
But
let's talk about the
at least
next
we're
3
not
days.
talking about severe weather this week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness.
No bueno, no severe weather. I'm happy about that. I'm really happy about this forecast, guys. I mean, today,
Yes, it looks good.
Today we're going to struggle. I mean, even though temperatures might hit 40, or feels like we'll be in the 20s, but as you look at this, as we go into the next couple of days, I mean, 70s on
Yay.
Saturday. I mean, I already booked my tea time for Friday. So
Good.
I
Get
encourage
outside
you to
and
go
enjoy
outdoors.
it.
It'll be
I
really
know.
nice.
I'm going to have to get
Will
outside
it be windy,
too.
or is it going to be pretty tolerable?
I think it'll be tolerable. There might be a little bit of wind. We might have some wind if we have some storms develop later in the day on Friday, but you'll notice a few little icons there. There's a chance tomorrow afternoon we might have some showers. But I mean, these are fast moving, so I'm not alerting anybody about that. It's spring after all, but I think lovely day, like Bill Withers' song on Saturday. I mean, that's my pick of the weekend. 70 and sunny. We are
That's
in California
nice.
dreaming.
Yay.
All right.
Love
Meredith,
it.
thank you.
Yes,
Coming up
Meredith,
next,
thanks.
Kevin Landers joins us to talk about a new initiative from the governor involving felons and pardons. That's back in 2 minutes.
Welcome back to the big picture. We're waiting for those microphones to get on. Joining us right now is Kevin Landers, veteran 10 TV reporter. Back in the day, guys, I interned with Kevin. You were the first person to take me out on the streets.
You're aging me. You're
no,
aging me.
no. Your storytelling's amazing, and
thank you.
you're here today to talk about a story that you have airing later today.
Right.
It's about the Pardon Project. Can you explain to us what this is?
Yeah, so Governor DeWine about 6 years ago created the Expedited Pardon Project. So he saw a need because the pardons were taking too long, essentially. Basically, I think 2 to 4 years was the average. So he saw a need for people to have a second chance at life by be able to remove these pardons for these felonies from their record in a shorter period of time. Now, we need to be clear that not everyone qualifies for an expedited pardon. You can't have committed a violent crime, rape or murder and things like that. But people who do qualify can have their application read by someone from a local law school, and then they review it. They send it to the parole authority, who reviews it. They do an interview with that person, and they decide yay or nay if it should go forward to the governor, and the governor has the ultimate decision. The parole board could say no. The governor could say yes. It's rare, but that could happen. But the governor has the ultimate power in who decides whether you will get the expedited pardon.
And why has this been so important to Governor DeWine during his term?
It's important because he knows that there's a workforce out there that needs people, and these people can go out and remove this felony, and they can become coaches, they could become real estate agents, they can become parole officers, and so this really allows people to have a better life. Now they have to go through certain hoops. They have to have held a job for 10 years and be crime-free after they've left prison.
Yeah.
So there are certain steps they have to prove before they can actually apply. What's great about the program is that once you apply, you get free legal advice to help you along the way.
To navigate, that's really
to
important.
help you get your application through. And so I wanted to show you this. When Governor DeWine leaves office, you can hold this up. This is a graphic.
We've got it. There it is.
Oh, there you go. We got the graphic on here.
His term is over in December. So the
Correct.
question now is, who's going to take over
Who's going to take over? So when he leaves office, he will have pardoned more felons than any governor before him. Now, if you look at that graphic there, you see Governor Strickland. Now, he only served 4 years.
Yeah.
The others served longer, and you can see how many pardons Governor Strickler had. But DeWine will have 338 to date, and that gives you an idea of just how many people have applied for this. The problem is, and what you'll see in our story, is that many of the people that we spoke to had no idea this program even existed. They assumed that this felony would carry them for the rest of their lives. They wouldn't be able to move beyond the jobs that they have. They wouldn't be able to increase their salaries. And that's a problem. And the governor admits that they don't have a process in place to notify every felon who could qualify for this program. So once they meet that 10-year mark, you would think the state would say, hey, you may qualify, you may want to apply. That's not happening. These people that we spoke to found out just by chance. They happened to be Googling, how do I get a felony off my record? They came across the program or someone told them about it. They had no idea. So they were shocked that this program existed. And then they found out, oh, I can get this removed in maybe 8-9 months, maybe a year, some 3 years. But basically it's 6 to 9 months they can get this felony removed.
So this leads me to Michelle. She's one of the 4 people that you spoke to in this story. Tell me a little bit about her story. And she's now trying to help spread the word about this program.
Yeah, so she has an interesting story. Listen, we all make mistakes in our lives, some worse than others. And her story was basically, she felt she was a victim of her own environment. You know, drugs were part of the environment. That's how people got by. And she made a horrible mistake, and she went to prison for it, did her time, came out, but she realized when she was in prison that she wanted to have a better life. So she began to apply herself, and now she's a real estate agent. She's also a notary. The other person we talked to was Mr. Justice, who had decided one day his life was spiraling out of control, and he decided he was going to do suicide by cop. He grabbed a police officer's gun.
We actually have a soundbite from him that we should cue up and play. His story's amazing.
Yeah.
When I turned 18,
and so
my life was in a downward spiral. Decided one night to try to commit suicide by cop. I walked up to an officer while I was intoxicated and tried to take his gun.
So just to elaborate further on that, because we just obviously showed a quick bit of that, was he just drunk and made a mistake, or what was going on with that?
There were drugs involved. We didn't get a lot into
what happened.
What
that
happened?
night.
You know, a lot of these people obviously want to move on with their lives. They want to show people that I've moved on. But yeah, he was in a bad spot in his life, and he made this poor decision and went to prison. And he realized when he was in prison that he wanted to help other people who may be in his same situation.
Wow.
So he's now a probation officer.
Wow. Full
He
circle.
went from prison inmate to probation officer. And that's just one example of how these people have moved on. Now, you were mentioning the question, what happens?
Yeah.
What happens when DeWine leaves office? And we asked Mike DeWine about this, and you'll see in our story. He's encouraging the next governor to carry this program on. And I did get a chance to talk to Vivek and Dr. Amy Acton, and here's what they say. Vivek's spokesperson said, Vivek is firmly committed to upholding the rule of law while also recognizing that once someone has completed their sentence, there should be a meaningful opportunity to restore their rights, contribute to society, and move forward. He's open to reviewing this program more closely and examining its impact once in office. And Dr. Amy Acton says, as governor, my number one priority is keeping Ohioans safe and ensuring our justice system works effectively and efficiently. I will conduct a thorough review of Governor DeWine's expedited pardon program to make sure it achieves those goals. Now, does that sound like 100% were they 100% committed? Are they on the fence? That's the question. Who is going to take over this program, if anyone?
Right.
And what happens to these other people who want to apply and there may not be an avenue for them to get an expedited pardon?
And I think it's interesting, and when you were interviewing Governor DeWine about this quickly, in a gaggle it seemed like, he said it's up to you guys, the media, to spread the message about this.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting thing for him to say.
Yeah, I think.
What did you think about that response?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a default answer. Why aren't you doing a better job of making this available? Now, they've used social media. They've had some press conferences about it, but it hasn't received a lot of traction among those people who really need to hear it. And that's what we hope our story will do. We hope our story will provide some kind of notification for everyone who could possibly qualify to use this pardon before he leaves office. And who knows what's going to happen when he leaves office if this is going to continue.
And what time's your full story air tonight?
6 o'clock tonight.
6 o'clock, okay. On 10 TV, guys, don't miss it.
And 10 TV Plus.
Yes. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming in today. It was nice to chat about this.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we are going to move over to our safety spotlight segment. We sat down with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. They wanted to work with us to spread awareness with the community about people who are charged with felonies that they're actively looking for. And they want to tell people, if you see this individual, you need to immediately call 911 or the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. So this is our conversation with Jeffrey Balzer.
Sheriff.
It was in the very northern part of Delaware County, off of right south of the little village of Norton. The person who's a suspect in it is Bruno Vasquez Munguia. People had been out drinking that evening, a group of folks who worked together. They got back home. This person was upset with another person, and he shot him. He killed him. He killed him out front of the residence. We got called to the scene. By the time we got to the scene, he was gone. The victim unfortunately died. We did an investigation, quickly came up with the suspect, posted it out there, but he has been gone ever since then. We ended up arresting his some family members of Mr. Munguia because they were hiding him. They sought to help him evade capture, and so they ended up facing some felony charges too. But he is still on the loose. We've had federal partners who've helped us out to try to locate him, but as of yet, we have not. And we'd love to have the public's help. I know that you'll have a photograph of him, and anyone that sees this person, believes they have any information about him, a call would be great, because we have resources all over the country now with our federal partners. We'd like to arrest him.
When you've spoken to the family that's been impacted by this, what have they said to you?
It's tragic. The immediate family of the victim are back in Mexico. And if you think about it, your loved one gets killed in another country. How difficult is that? You have no way of keeping track of that. We've tried to keep the family informed, but they just want justice in this case, to know that their family member meant something. And they do, regardless of their station in life or anything, everyone's life is important, and we want to hold this person responsible for what he did.
So if people see this person, call you guys. Call
Yes.
911.
Yes. If you see Bruno Mungia, please call us. Let us know where he is. I'd be glad to house him in my jail.
All right, you heard him. So if you see this individual, you are asked to call 911, or you can call the Delaware County Sheriff's Office at 740-833-2840. All right, well, we will be right back, but first we're going to take a short little break.
Welcome back to The Big Picture here
Hello,
on 10
Jay
TV
Fox.
Plus. Jay Fox joining us, and
the Ohio News Network.
talking about
We got a meteor.
I got to tell you something.
Yeah, what?
Imagine that you're on your way to work in downtown Cleveland, traveling north on 71, and you see this giant fireball scoot across the sky. What's the first thing you're going to think?
Superman.
I think
No.
a bomb. I think a bomb is
That's
about to
exactly-
hit
You're
us.
on a
And that's-
destructive
I
tear
know. I
today.
guess I am, but that's exactly where my mind goes.
Yeah, and so did thousands of people in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah.
They thought we were under attack, but it wasn't. And it wasn't Superman either, although that movie was filmed
In Cleveland.
in part in Cleveland, Ohio. What it was a 7-ton meteor which exploded over the greater Cleveland area, over Lake Erie. It was like 50 miles above Lake Erie in the Lorain area. And this
It would be
thing
Lorraine.
was traveling over 40,000 miles per hour. I can't even conceive of that.
That's 7 tons.
Just 7 tons.
Oh my gosh.
And to boot, it was 6 feet in diameter.
So, you know, like
So this is like a city flying by.
yeah, you know, like, 6 feet. Yeah, you know, it's like a Toyota Corolla just
What's
dropping out of the
crazy
sky.
is like the boom, like the ring cameras picked up on.
Absolutely.
It was just like so large. It was crazy.
So Jonathan in Mayfield Heights said his entire house shook so hard that his coffee cup went off the counter and crashed on the floor.
Oh my gosh.
Well, and then I know there was, you know, some people had broken windows.
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
It shattered windows.
But
That's
it
so
didn't
crazy.
stop there. After it boomed, it traveled 34 miles southeast, and then it exploded 30 miles above Valley City, which is in Medina County. Now, NASA officials, you know, we've got NASA Lewis
Right.
Glenn Research Center in Cleveland. They said the boom was equivalent to the explosion of 250 tons of dynamite.
Wow.
So you could go to Miami County and you could look for these rocks, but they say try to preserve them because they're now historic artifacts. But it's okay to touch, no worry about radiation. But get this, The fireball could be seen in 11 states and also in Ontario, Canada.
Wow.
That's like the day after,
really,
kind of.
I guess Ontario's not that far from Cleveland.
No, it's just a hop over the lake.
But still, it just puts in perspective how large this meteor is. It's huge.
And even more concerning, and this is a question for Meredith or Aaron, is why didn't we know about this?
Well, she said these actually happen all the time,
Yeah.
but they
Right.
burn up in our atmosphere before they even we feel
they,
anything.
Skip across, yeah. Which I mean, this one still kind of did. It blew up before it hit anything.
Thank goodness.
I mean, if we were to see video of how many of these happen over and over and over again, I don't think we'd ever be able to sleep again.
I know.
It's like so many of these. I mean, most of the planet is water, so like how much, a lot of that stuff. It's like all these like total solar eclipses, like they're all like in the ocean 90% of the time.
And Lorraine was actually, when I worked in Cleveland, it was one of the best places in the world to witness the eclipse that happened a couple years ago. I was actually there for it.
Yeah, because
so I just think it's interesting that a meteor,
of the city. Exactly.
a meteor literally landed almost there, which is wild. I don't know. Lorraine must be really important to the outer.
And this is something that's being talked about statewide and regionally. It is the water cooler story of the day.
Yeah.
Now, in Southwest Ohio, we've got big trouble.
What's going on? What's going on?
So you've got a county prosecutor who has an issue with a FOP Lodge president.
Okay.
Fraternal Order of Police.
Fraternal Order of Police. So Butler County prosecutor Mike Moser has put the FOP Lodge 101 president, Jason Hatfield, on what's called a Brady list. You guys know what that is?
A Brady list?
I've heard of it, but it has escaped
like Tom
me.
Brady?
I've been up for too long.
Not Tom Brady and not the Brady gun law, but...
The Brady Bunch?
Could be. It just depends upon if Alice B. Davis is involved.
Butler's near Cincinnati.
Yes.
If anyone needs perspective.
And we know Butler because of the Butler County Sheriff, the Butler County Jail, lots of news. So a Brady list is used by prosecutors to identify law enforcement officials who they think might have excessive force violations, bias, questions of honesty, and criminal history. So the question is, why is this guy Hatfield on the list? He doesn't have a criminal history. He's never been tagged with excessive force.
And what's going on?
On social media, he made a comment about a recent criminal case that suggests bias.
Okay.
So the prosecutor flagged him. Now, here's the real story. Apparently, now if we were to change the prosecutor's name from Moser to McCoy, we'd have the Hatfield and the McCoys. They have a long-standing feud. So the FOP is saying this is personal, this is retribution, this has nothing to do with the law, and
this is real?
This is real.
That is
and the
crazy.
Butler County prosecutor has said, you know what? Let's fight this out in federal court because saying what you said undermines your credibility. So if you were to be on the stand, you would be a biased witness in a criminal case.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild.
Okay.
I guess what's next with that then?
The next thing is going to be a challenge. And if the challenge goes forward, then a federal magistrate will have to decide, does Mr. Hatfield belong on the Brady list? Or does somebody owe somebody an apology? Tough
see what
times
happens.
in Southwest Ohio.
All right, Jay, thanks so much for coming in today.
Always a pleasure.
We've got Adam and Nicole joining us to talk about March Madness. They're in South Carolina, so they are dialed in. We'll hear from them in just a couple minutes. Welcome back to The Big Picture here
Yeah.
on 10 TV. We are talking March Madness
Yeah, we are.
here in a bit.
Nicole Sheeran, Adam King.
Yeah, I was like, did you make a bracket?
No. I'm not that into sports, Colin,
I
unfortunately.
used to make a bracket and I gave up. It's a waste of money for me, at least. I mean, some people
Maybe
are good
I
at
should
it.
make one this year.
All right. You know who we've got joining us? Adam and Nicole in South Carolina.
Yeah, they're there.
Let's see. This is our first test of a live picture with them, so we'll see how this goes.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, let's start there.
Okay. We're having a really hard time hearing
Yeah,
you guys.
that's not gonna work.
Some
So,
technical
you know,
problems.
we'll get
but
that sorted out
they're
eventually.
on the court there. Look,
Yeah.
that's so much fun. OSU, they're going to be playing against TCU tomorrow at 12:15, and that game
Right.
will be here on 10 TV News, and it'll also be streaming on 10 TV Plus.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
got to tune in for that. We'll see what the Buckeyes
Right,
do.
and we'll have, of course, plenty of post-game coverage.
Yeah.
And, of course, you can always listen to 97.1
The Fan. Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a good game. Meteorologist Meredith Garfalo here. Just 2 minutes ago, we had this statewide tornado drill happen. Normally
where
it's
would
at
you
noon.
go in the studio?
I
this
maybe in
building?
here. I
I don't
would
know.
chill in here. Maybe this
Oh,
is
this
it.
is it?
I think we're in it.
Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
thank goodness. Then we're in the same
Clearly I don't
We're
pay attention to the
safe.
signs.
Okay. Well, we
I love
practiced.
that. Good. Everyone practice. And I hope you did too. And if not, after school, talk to the kids. It's like having a fire drill plan. You never know, and you never hope it ever
Do they
happens
still
in your
put the
lifetime.
kids in the hallway where you're like,
my
I think
gosh.
they
do
do.
that? Is
I
that still
really
the
do
thing?
think they do. I'd have to ask my sister. She's an elementary school teacher, but I do think that they probably do it. And that's probably what all these schools around here did today was
I did a story one time where a school like rebuilt their gym that had air ducts in it. So when
So
a tornado
smart.
happens, they kind of like those ducts open and it
equalizes
helps
pressure.
Yes,
That's
it was so
such a
cool.
that was
smart
something
thing.
like I always remembered growing up. Everybody's like, if stuff like that, crack the windows in your house.
You
I don't
it
know if that's an
helps,
urban
it
legend.
Helps. It does help, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
It depends on the pressure, how big the tornado is when it comes into your home. I mean, there's a lot of things. My mom survived coming up the super outbreak of 1974, April 3rd and 4th, and she was in her home when the tornado passed over the
Xenia
house.
tornado.
And she said what happened was when the tornado passed, things didn't explode. The pressure lifted everything, and I have chills telling this, it lifted everything off the mantles and set it down perfectly on the floor. Nothing tipped over.
Oh my gosh.
It's always
So
interesting to
it's
see what
very
makes it
fascinating.
out of those storms. Because, I mean, you can watch an entire house get blown away, but the china cabinet's still sitting there.
Right, or one house is skipped over and the other one looks like a dollhouse with the whole front ripped off.
I mean, that's why you have to prepare for everything. You know,
Seriously.
you never want to have to say there's a tornado warning and there's a tornado coming toward your home. But we do live in Ohio, and we've seen tornadoes in the past, so
and
it's
we've
just smart
also
to be prepared.
We've also seen meteors.
Oh my gosh!
In Ohio.
Wait
You have a
until
video.
I
Can
do
you
have
pull
this
this up because
video.
we've been talking about it?
Now,
There it
I'm
is.
not sure if you heard from family or friends in Cleveland. So it's funny. My mom's in Cleveland. I have a family there. I was getting texts blown up when this was happening. And if you look there in the center of your screen, you can see the fireball. That was a meteor that entered Earth's atmosphere. And of course, what happens is this is how Earth is protected. It disintegrates when it comes in. But sometimes you have little pieces that'll actually still stick around. And there's been reports coming in from Medina County in Medina, just south of Cleveland, that they have been finding little fragments from the meteor, which you'll probably see on eBay, but you want to fact check and make sure it's a real meteor piece. But, you know, these fireballs, I know a lot of people don't realize this. They happen more often than we think, and they're not really a threat. I know we were joking with Tyvis about earlier, and oh my gosh, it knocked out the dinosaurs. I mean, we would have to get a seriously big one, but with our technology now from NASA and from our military operations, I think we would know if something's like coming our way.
How often are these coming down to Earth?
You can have them like every month. Sometimes.
Oh, every month. Okay,
Sometimes
I
they
didn't know
can
if it was
happen.
like daily,
Right.
which would be crazy.
That'd be a lot of meteors out there, and that would terrify me if there's that many meteors that are coming into Earth. But the sonic boom that people heard, because that was another question, like, why did my house shake? What happened? Well, think about it. Have you ever seen a jet, one of those really supersonic fast jets, and you hear that sonic boom? And, you know, light travels faster than sound. And so typically that's why you'll hear that boom after you see what happens.
Well, the video that you just played, I love the clear skies, and I hope that's on the way for us.
Well, you're in luck because for once
Sunny, clear skies.
I have a forecast I think you guys are going to like.
Yeah.
I mean, today's was miserable. I'm going to be honest. I mean, if you have to blame the meteorologist, that happens every now and then. But yeah, we've got 50s, we've got 60s. And then as we move forward and we go into Saturday, The 70s are back. Friday, by
so
the way,
ready.
is the equinox, so we're excited about that.
And that's
Spring
exciting.
officially.
It means, hopefully,
Bring it on.
Yeah.
we're mostly done with this.
And we
snow
want to
stuff.
bring Adam and Nicole, who are in Greenville,
we got
South
them now.
Carolina. We got them back. We figured out the tech issues. Guys, is it warmer down there than it is here?
Not at all. It's so cold here too. And yeah, it's brutal, but it's not cold inside the arena. We want to show you around now that you can hear us here. And everywhere you look, it's so exciting. Everything has that March Madness feel to it. We are in, I'm going to try to say it, Bon Secours Wellness.
There you go. There you go.
In Greenville, South Carolina. And Nicole, we've seen a lot of fans last night. We saw a lot of people come to town. Haven't seen any Ohio State jerseys just, or Ohio State fans just yet, but soon enough.
We will. Listen, it's what, an 8-hour drive? We made the drive here. Buckeye fans, I think, are going to make the drive. This is the first time Ohio State is playing in the NCAA tournament in 4 years. So why not make the drive? You can get in your car, pack it up, have a road trip. We had a fun time coming down here.
If you do make the drive, though, you got to make sure that you pull up 10 TV Plus right after
Yes.
the game so you can follow us when the clock hits zero. Maybe watch the pregame from your seats. Maybe even watch the game on 10 TV as well from your phone, just to make sure. Because, you don't want to encourage people to come to the game and not watch us.
And not watch it. You're right. But listen, there's a lot going on here, y'all. Today, we're going to see them practice out here at 11:45. They're going to have an open locker room at 11 a.m. We're going to get to talk to Jake Diebler, a lot of the players, a guy like Bruce Thornton, who's waited all 4 years, has waited his time to play in the NCAA tournament. So there is a lot going on today.
There is a lot going on. And then the Buckeyes take the court. They tip off this whole tournament. It's exciting. They are the first game of the entire madness against TCU. So that's great because if you're a Buckeye fan, you win that game, then you get to enjoy Thursday, Friday, kick your feet up and watch everybody else get upset.
Well, Adam, who are in your final four for your brackets?
Good question.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know that I actually haven't sat down and filled out a bracket.
I have.
Some of us had to
Okay,
drive.
Nicole, give it to
Some
us.
of us had to drive the car down here.
I have 4 different brackets, y'all, but I have Arizona winning in one. I have Florida winning in another. But I actually have Ohio State going all the way to the Sweet 16, I believe, taking down Duke right here in Greenville.
That's
So
bold.
That is
I think
bold.
I believe in the Bucks.
I think Arizona's
how's the
probably the best
energy,
team.
though, with the
in college
players,
basketball.
guys? I mean, have you had a chance to talk to them? Was it the same as when we saw the announcement?
So the players arrived here yesterday. They had a quick morning out here. They went through their first practice. We haven't had a chance to see them just yet. We're going to get to see them in about an hour. And then from there, it's full go. They'll do an open practice. The cool thing about March Madness, if you don't know this, is that fans can actually watch practice today. And so they do an open practice where all the fans can watch and enjoy. And then they go to a private practice where Diebler yells at them and says, we got to be ready to go and do the actual plays that they don't want anybody to know.
All right, so guys, you're going to be giving us an update coming up on 10 TV News at noon, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
We will go one-on-one with head coach Jake Diebler. We'll have that for you in the new newscast.
Okay, tell
so you gotta
Jake
stick
I
around.
said hi. I went to college with him. He knows me from Valpo.
Okay.
So please
Wait, I
tell
didn't know
him
that.
his favorite meteorologist said hi.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys made it down
I
there
will certainly
safely.
tell him that Aaron White says hi.